Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Joel here with as many reviews as possible, and today we're doing the review of the Asics 727 weightlifting shoes. Now, to be completely honest with you guys, I didn't really find it all that hard to get my hands on them, and they really weren't all that expensive either. I only paid about $225 US, shipped directly from Japan. I bought them from a store on Rakuten Global, which sells directly from Japan, and they shipped it to me for about $225 shipped, or it was like 2600 or 26,000 yen. The shoes come in a standard Asics box. This is like the normal American box. It's got all your Japanese labeling and writing right there. The size that I got is a 27.5, which is supposed to be like a 9.5 US. In the box you get an Asics bag for your shoes. It's kind of cool. It's a little thin, but still pretty cool. And then of course the Asics 727s. These are some beautiful shoes. They're classic looking. There's nothing gaudy about them. They are just a no fuss, sweet looking shoe. Obviously it has the Asics design, which is unmistakable. You've got a full leather upper. The Asics logo is like a polyurethane kind of material. It's a little glossy. Standard, just normal laces, nothing special there. Around the ankle area is a more like patent leather, whereas the exterior is like a suede leather. This is what the outsole looks like. So it's a kind of crepe rubber, and then of course you've got the wooden heel. Now the insole is not removable, and it's kind of like a canvas insole. There's only a little bit of cushioning. What I really like about these shoes is that there is no kind of like arch support. There's no curves inside. It's like a really flat shoe. Another thing that I really like and took me by surprise was just how wide these shoes are. They are a lot more wide than you would think they are. The fit on a 27.5 is like exactly what you would expect a 9.5 weightlifting shoe to feel like. Another interesting thing about the Asics is that I have one shoe that weighed in at 16.5 ounces, and the other shoe, the left shoe, weighed in at 15.5 ounces. So that's kind of something weird and funky, and that probably just comes down to them just being handmade. So now let's compare the size and shape of the Asics 727 to some of the more popular weightlifting shoes out right now. The Romoleo 2s in a size 9.5 are slightly longer, and the midfoot is slightly wider. The platform of the Romoleo 2s is wider. And the Legacy lifters, like the Romoleo 2s, these are a size 9, but they're still longer than the Asics. The platform is also much wider in the midfoot. So here are the Nike Romoleo 3s. Once again in a 9.5, and they are longer than the Asics. The midfoot has a little bit more width, but overall I'd say the shape is very similar between these two shoes. Here are the Adidas Adipowers in a 9.5. The Adidas are much longer, and the Asics are much wider in the forefoot, though the midfoot and the heel are fairly similar. I'm going to say that the Adidas has a little bit more surface area on the heel, but not by a ton. Here are the Adidas Licetongue 2, once again in a 9.5. The Licetongue 2s have a wider heel. Once again, they are longer. The forefoot on the Asics is definitely going to be wider. Here are the Noble lifters, and these Nobles are a size 9, which is small on me, and the Asics are definitely longer. The Asics are also much wider than the Nobles as well. So here are the position lifters, the only other wooden heeled shoe, weightlifting shoe that I own, and the positions have a slightly, just very slightly wider heel, The forefoot on the Asics is definitely wider, and this is a 9 in the positions, and the positions are still longer than the Asics. So one thing that I don't really know, and there's not really a whole lot of information out there about the Asics 727, is the effective heel height. I do know that you can get these shoes customized. You can get like different kinds of leathers, you can get a higher heel, shorter heel, and you can get them in larger sizes because they only make up to like a size 10 US. But we don't really know what the heel height is, so we're just gonna put them up against some of the more popular options that we know the heel heights of, and we're just gonna try to guess from there. So here they are against the Position Eastwoods, which have a 1-inch effective heel height. And to be honest with you, it looks like the Asics are just slightly shorter than the Positions. So here are the Asics against the Nike Romaleo 2s, which have a 0.75 inch heel height effective. And in this one, the Asics definitely edge out where the TPU starts meeting the upper on the Romaleos. And then the last one that we're going to do are the Adidas Light Stongs, which have a 1-inch effective heel, and these are definitely going to be the highest heeled shoes that I've ever worn. And definitely the Adidas rise up a little bit higher than the Asics. The part where the Adidas meet the upper is definitely higher than on the Asics. Now once again, that's not a scientific way of testing the heel to toe drop on the Asics. That's just kind of guesstimating. Your guess is as good as mine on these shoes. Now when it comes down to performance of the Asics 727 weightlifting shoes, are these the holy grail of weightlifting shoes? In my opinion, no, but they're pretty damn close. These shoes are extremely flexible weightlifting shoes. The creep sole grips the platform extremely well. Obviously the heel is wooden. There's no compressing that. You're gonna get 100% power delivery every time in these shoes. The insole is just minimal and flat, and there's really nothing to it. There's nothing to kind of guide your foot around. The toe box is extremely wide and has a lot of room for your toes to splay. The fit is really good for just a shoe that's made out of leather. Has no kind of medial strap, just a normal simple lacing system. The Asics 727s have some of the best ground feel out of any weightlifting shoe that I've ever used, which makes them extremely responsive feeling shoes. Moving your feet around in these shoes is really easy to do. I feel like I'm really fast in the Asics 727s. Now a couple things that I don't really like about the Asics 727s, and I really think it just comes down to the manufacturing of these shoes, because it really hasn't changed in 30 years. The tongue kind of gets bunched up in this area of the shoe, and I mean it's probably just because they're just leather shoes. There's nothing really holding the tongue in place besides this little lace loop right here. And another thing I don't really like about the shoes is that they're not super breathable. Your feet kind of get a little bit hot. Obviously there's not a ton of ventilation. It's just leather, and there are just a few holes for a little bit of ventilation in the front, but overall they're, you know, not too uncomfortable, but it's worth noting that they do get a little hot. Now when it comes down to value of the Asics 727s, like I said, I only paid $225 for these shoes, and I think that is a completely fair price to pay for these weightlifting shoes. I think they're some of the best ones that I've ever used. But if you're gonna have to pay $300 plus for these shoes, then I'm gonna honestly tell you they probably aren't worth it. Honestly, you can't really compare the performance of the Asics 727s to some of the newer weightlifting shoes that have all this research and development in them. They are performance driven weightlifting shoes. Not that the Asics weren't for their time, they just haven't changed in 30 years. And a lot has changed in 30 years. There's something about the performance of the Asics 727s that feel really good. Maybe it's placebo, maybe it's because they're hard to get your hands on, maybe it's because they're expensive. That being said, the Asics 727s are still some of my favorite weightlifting shoes. Like I said, probably just placebo. These are really cool shoes, and I'm glad to own a pair. I don't regret spending what I did on these shoes, and I do highly recommend them if you can get them for the price that I got them for. If you guys have any questions about the Asics 727s, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And as always guys, please hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching.